Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how to gracefully merge the digital and the analog. I love paper and planning on paper, but I admit sometimes there are some benefits to using the digital calendars, the digital to-do lists. And so today I want to talk about how I'm combining both, how I'm using both, and trying my hardest not to have a lot of duplication. The calendar, yes, the calendar will be duplicated. For me, it's just a matter of syncing that up once a week. But the to-do list, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I'm handling that. That, if you've watched any of my previous videos, has been one of my major sticking points. How do I handle my to-do list on paper? Because yeah, I get things to do in so many different ways that come in via email. There are pieces of paper that are handed to me at the office. There are things that I happen to think of. And so trying to find a good place to capture that, where I'm not doing a lot of capturing and then processing, because to me that is duplication. Having to write it several times, having to write it and then type it someplace else. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I modified a method called Strikethru. It's Strikethru. If you search for that on YouTube, there's actually a video about how the original method worked, because it was originally designed to be used in a booklet, kind of like the bullet journal method. Actually, it's kind of a spin-off or a different take on the bullet journal method, and I have tweaked it to use in a ring-bound planner where I can add and remove pages. So I'll talk a little bit about how that works with page numbering and that sort of thing. So that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about how I get in to-do items and then how I process them, but really it's going to be mainly today about how I'm tracking them and how I'm using a backlog to-do list, because to me that's the hardest part, is that list of things I'm not going to do today. It's the stuff I need to do at some point. It's not super urgent, super important, but it needs to get done eventually, because eventually it will be super urgent and super important if I don't get it done. So how I track those, that has always been my main sticking point, and so I think I found something that actually works. So that being said, I'm going to turn the camera around and then I will show you what I'm doing. So today I wanted to share with you how I'm gracefully merging digital and analog. I will mention the programs I'm using digitally. I will probably include a screenshot, but just for the sake of technology and me getting it correct, I actually won't be doing live views of the technology, but at least we'll screenshot it so you can see what it is that I'm doing. This is my work planner. I will flip through it really quick for you so you can see how it's set up. This is a Touch Me Vanderspec. It's in the gray color, which as far as I know was a limited color. It's actually no longer available. They do have a buy-sell trade group that you might be able to find it on. We are in December. These are from Cocoa Daisy. So my first section is the calendar. I do have a setup video on this that's going to be very similar. I will link that down below so you can see kind of how I decide what goes monthly here versus my personal planner. And then after that, I have the daily pages. So on the daily page, how I'm using them is pretty much how it is laid out at this point in time. In my previous video, I talked about how I was dividing things up so it was a little closer to the daily pages than from the momentum planner, but I wasn't necessarily using all of it, so this is how I'm using it right now. So I have my schedule items here. So any meetings that I have coming up, I start at the top and write in the night before the tasks that I would like to get done, and I'll talk about how I decide these. Then at that point I'll usually draw a line, and then as tasks come up I will put them here. In the notes section, if I'm checking voicemail, I'll jot down like who called, phone numbers, that sort of thing. I make notes about phone calls that I have or I initiate in this section. I'm not really using this call or email area unless I actually have to make a call and something I need to do first thing. I think I mentioned in my previous video, a lot of the places I have to call are on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, and so I have to make those phone calls before noon, or I generally don't get a hold of anybody. So that's how I'm using these daily pages. Now, in that video I mentioned the issue I was having was to-dos. So right now how I have things split up between digital and analog, which for me analog is the paper. So digitally what I'm keeping track of is in OmniFocus, and I'm mainly keeping track of recurring tasks. I do have a page on paper that lists all of my recurring tasks and approximately when they're due each month. So if something happens to my computer, I still have that information. But what I'm actually doing each day when I'm looking for these lists, the first thing I look at is OmniFocus to see what recurring tasks are coming up the next day, and I write those down. So that is how I'm using the digital side of things. So I'm going to go ahead and put a screenshot of what the OmniFocus page looks like here so you can see how it's set up. I basically have home and work divided up, and then I still have vestigial tasks and things because I have not deleted them them yet since I moved them onto the paper version. Again, this is still in a very trial version, so hopefully I'll report back in a month or so as to how this is working for me, but so far I am really enjoying it. So let's flip to my tasks section. So this idea is something I got from a bullet journal spin-off called Strikethru, and I will go ahead and link the video below so that you can watch it and see kind of how it's put together. It is made for more of a bullet journal style notebook where you can't take the pages out and move them around. So I have modified this slightly so that it fits a ring-bound planner. You'll see basically for me, page numbers don't necessarily matter except for as a reference. But the first page that they have is essentially a list of all of your lists. Now, I don't have all of these lists, and one or two of them actually live in my personal binder, but like the personal list that lives in my personal binder, but I know what that is, so I don't necessarily need a key. This is more for some of the other things that I have kind of made up on my own. You'll see here that these correspond. Essentially, these are just the little page flags, and I cut them down slightly so that it fits on the top line here, so it doesn't overlap. I did find that I can't write on the top line because as things travel across, it kind of blocks it, but as I cross things off, it's not going to be an issue. So the first page I have is the project list. So these are projects that I am working on. The next section is the weekly list. So these are my weekly recurring tasks. So whether it's every week or bi-weekly, I went ahead and combined them on the same page because there's not that many of them. And then I have a note about what day I actually do that task on. So 2T means it's every second Tuesday. So hopefully that makes sense. R for me is Thursday because Tuesday, Thursday start with the same letter. And thankfully I don't work Saturday or Sunday, so I don't have to worry about that here. So the next section is my monthly recurring tasks. So whether it's monthly, and I put quarterly down at the bottom. So this is the day of the month. So 1st, the 8th, the 20th. Here, every quarter on the 28th, I do something. So that gives you an idea of how I track my monthly tasks. And then the last section I have for recurring is yearly. So I have a note about which month these things are due in. Filing 1096s, I have insurance that expires throughout the year, so I just made a note of which month. I do have a spreadsheet of this that tracks like which policy, which date, that information. So I don't need to put more than this. I just know that in May, I need to go look at that spreadsheet and see what's due. And then health insurance, our enrollments in August. So that covers this first section here. The goals list I'm going to keep on the Momentum planner or in my personal planner. So that won't necessarily be in here. All right. So those are the recurring tasks. So the next section is WO, which are work tasks, my work list here. So what I've done is I've numbered all of the tasks. At first I didn't do two-sided pages, but then I did. I did number the pages down at the bottom. It doesn't matter that both of these are considered page 6 because the numbers keep going sequentially on to the next page. So you'll notice that it goes 5, 6, 9 because I added this page after I'd added a bunch of other ones here. Again, it doesn't matter because it's a reference. I know that it's on the work list. It's page 9. So how I am using this is you'll see that I have referenced other tasks within a list, and I also use it when I'm referencing when I bring stuff forwards. I originally had a bunch of tasks here for, let's look at page 10. Page 10 is GF. GF is Google Forms. So these are forms that I want to put into Google. When I realized that I have a bunch of things that are kind of grouped together that I might want to work on at the same time, I went ahead and forwarded them to another list. So I made a note that this task now is 10.6. You'll see it's on page 10 and it's now number 6. Same thing with the next one, page 10, number 7. So that lets me know I crossed through this. I have this little arrow letting me know I forwarded it, but then I know where I forwarded it to. Otherwise, if it's just crossed through, it means that I've done the task already. So I did that both for the Google Forms and then things I need to do in one of our software programs called Onsite. I also have a waiting for list here as well. And you'll notice I actually have an EM next to some of these and a P next to others. So this lets me know that I have supporting documentation. P means I have a piece of paper sitting in my pending folder. EM means I have an email in my pending email folder. So this lets me know, hey, there's something to back this up that I need to go look at, and I know where to look, whether it's email or paper. Because this is the problem. I have things that come in in all different sorts of ways, and I need to figure out, okay, I have a master list, but where do I go to look for any backup documentation I might need? So this was how I took care of that. I also have an asterisk. These are things that are becoming urgent. They're things that I need to do before the end of the year. So as I'm trying to decide what I want to do next, I'm looking for asterisks. So that's what those are for. I also have a waiting for list as well. And as I accomplish tasks, or I make a note of I have a task to do, but I'm waiting for something, I'm referencing this list here. So that's page 7. Let me see if I have any. I don't see that I referenced any waiting fors. I think that I did that back here in the back section. So if I've completed a task, I draw a line through it, but if I'm waiting for something to come back, then I make a note of the waiting for number, so I know that it's not totally done yet, but that portion of it was completed. I also have an agenda page. I accidentally got my paper wet, so it transferred the color. That's why that's there. But I make a note of who I need to have this meeting, or like who this needs to be talked with about. So communication projects I'm working with my accounting team on, so I have ACCT to let me know that. K and L, the initials of my business partners, so I know that needs to be in a meeting I have with my business partners. And then SO is someday maybe. So this is stuff that I don't want to lose, but I don't want to do anything with right now. So that's what this page is for. So flipping back here, let's go back to yesterday. So you can see where I actually referenced this. In the original Strikethrough, he just puts this reference number. But if I'm looking at my to-do list and I'm like, what do I want to do next? Having a number, I don't want to be flipping back and forth. So I may not put all the information here, but I'm going to put a quick summary of what it is that I need to do, and then a reference for where I need to look it up. So if I need to build back property items, if I go look at page 6, number 40, I'm going to my work tasks. Page 6, 40, build back property items, build a credit card. So you see I have more information here. If I need to do a final accounting for Diamond, I go to page 9.53, so I can see it's here. There's not more information, but on the other hand, I'm not actually crossing these out until I'm done. So this is kind of like my working list. So if I need to forward something like finish the Cambridge budget, I actually didn't complete this, but if you look at 9.57, it's not crossed out yet. I don't cross things out and write them here. I write them here, make a note of where they came from, and if they actually do get completed, then I cross them out. That keeps me from crossing things out that I haven't completed yet and getting confused as to what's done, what's not done. So that is how the to-do tracking is working. I actually really like this method. It allows me to have a whole list. It allows me to have a quick reference for things that I need to do. I have a place to go if I want more information. Because it's just an ongoing list, I don't have to worry about starting a new page if I have just a few items left, if I don't want to. I mean, eventually if I'm done with the page, I'm going to take it out and throw it away. But it doesn't matter what the page number is, because all I need to know is it's this page and that item number. So it's just page.item number. That's what that is there. And then all I need to do when I run out of room is I grab another page, add a page number, and I just put the code at the top so I know what list it belongs to, and then put it in. And because it doesn't matter, again, that all the pages are in order, I can just keep all of my work tasks together. Even though the pages kind of skip around a little bit, I know it's in my work tasks, and I can just kind of look quickly to see the page number that I need to reference. So that's actually how I'm doing my to-do list right now. So again, digitally, it's where I'm keeping my master calendar, because I do get invites electronically from people. So my electronic calendar is pretty much the master. Every week I go through and I update the weekly schedule. That's at work, I do it daily because I only do the daily page the night before. So if something's going on, I'm not wasting daily pages. Not that I'm wasting, because I have a ton of them, but I'm not making daily pages for things that are not going to happen. The monthly page I update at the beginning of the month. This is mostly stuff that will not change. If something gets canceled or moved, I can just cross through it, draw a line. But every week I'm just going through and making sure there aren't any updates. Same thing personally. I just go through at the beginning of the week, and I actually personally do my daily pages out a week ahead of time. So I'm just doing a setup of them. I'm writing in the things that are scheduled, and then I'm writing in my routine items so that I kind of know how much time I have to work on something that day if I want to add extra to-dos on at that time. So hopefully this makes sense. Again, I'm going to link the Strikethrough video down below so you can watch how it was originally set up, and I'm sure that'll make a little more sense to you. You can see how I tweaked it to fit the ring bound planner and how I'm using it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd be interested to know, just for for everybody else also how you are combining your digital and your analog. Have you just picked one and that's it? Or do you have a hybrid system? What programs are you using? Let us know in the comments. And if you have any questions or you're trying to figure out how to combine two things, let us know that as well. So I have more videos coming up in the Girlboss functional planning series. If you are not already, please subscribe so you get notified when those come out. If you like this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.